Hi, Hedwig.
Look at you, playing with your cards. Pathetic. We've got final exams coming up soon.
I'm ready. Ask me any question.
All right. What are the 3 most crucial ingredients in a forgetfulness potion?
I forgot.
And what, may I ask, do you plan to do if this comes up in the final exam?
Copy off you?
No, you won't. Besides, according to Professor McGonagall, we're to be given special quills, bewitched with an anti-cheating spell.
That's insulting.
Look, stop. You're going to take someone's eye out. Besides, you're saying it wrong. Wingardium Leviosa.
Dornish Shacklebolt, you will escort Dumbledore to Azkaban to await trial for conspiracy and sedition.
I thought we might hit this little snag. You seem to be laboring under the delusion that I'm going to, what was the phrase? Come quietly. Well, I can tell you this. I have no intention of going to Azkaban.
Enough of this. Take him!
You're Emrys. That is what the druids call me. And you've been at court all this time, eh?
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
To be able to know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to start with a quote from Rose, and that quote is, "You can move mountains, but the mountains must agree that they should be moved." And this is a really key element of what's going to happen in this whole discussion I'm going to have. Humans have way more power in the dream to manifest, to alter, to change the matrix at exceptional levels. But if you just go into it with your egoic wants and your egoic wishes, you're going to get, the matrix is going to stop you every time. And until you start to learn how to look into the matrix, into the universe, and find out what the universe wants, and start wanting that, your entire interaction with the dream changes. If you cut yourself, you need a Band-Aid, right? You don't need $1 million, and you don't need a snowmobile. You just need a Band-Aid. Now, if that's an authentic desire at that moment. In that moment, I need a Band-Aid to put on my cut. Now, if you're caught in a blizzard in the Northwest Territories, then you might have an authentic desire for a snowmobile. And that's this thing to start having to look, what's a egoic desire? What's just something my parasitic mind wants? And what's an authentic desire in the moment that comes from something beyond me? There's a desire for something to happen or be in the dream. And as long as the ego's in control, all you can want is bigger and better, right? Bigger houses, bigger cars, bigger boobs. But as you go deeper into an awakening process, a lot of the things that are inauthentic won't survive. And part of it is tied to what we believe. I mean, if you don't believe something is possible, at least at the subconscious level, then it's likely not possible. I think that's why extreme cases of manifesting are so rare, right? Healers can stop bleeding, but they can't reattach a leg. And it may not have to do with the healer's power. It's rather the intent of the people involved, right? We're back to the mountain. The mountain must believe it can be moved. The mountain must be in agreement it can be moved.
I like that tree. What's going on there? Beekeeper. See? Need to be able to hear well here. They come down this little road quite fast from Buckingham, like that. That was almost like a manifestation, that was. See that beautiful bird? See that beautiful bird? Imagine speeding on a road like this though. It's fucking stupid. Unless you're on a bike. Much better off on a bike. But even on a bike it's not that smart. As I said, you got a lot of cars coming. If that was a manifestation, it was the quickest one that I've ever seen. They usually take hours, days, weeks to happen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my occult files. I am Sofia Di Gregorio, author of several books on traditional witchcraft and the occult. As a witch, you have probably noticed that most people seem to live in a different world from you. Your expanded perception, finely tuned senses, and sharp, possibly even photographic memory, and attention to minute details in your environment allow you to perceive the world more vividly. Small things often leave a great impression on your senses, but most of the people around you seem to be experiencing something else. This is because you really are experiencing the world differently, likely due to some differences in your metaphysical makeup and therefore in your physical makeup, in particular your nervous system. Your experience is different because other people's ability to perceive the world around them has been limited by the holy controllers, who have controlled and manipulated information and communication for hundreds, if not thousands of years. By controlling information, they took control of people's minds. The tools they use to do this include religion, controlling information and communications, and the use of technology to maintain this control. This is how they keep the sensory perceptions of the majority, which are already weakened, in complete check. It is the perceptions of the great majority that determine the common reality. The first major information technology they used to limit and distort the common perception of reality was the Gutenberg press. The first press with movable type, which dates back to the middle of the 15th century. The holy controllers pretend, at times, to be religious, but they know the truth. They use both religious and secular authority, depending on which better suits their needs at the time. It is their goal to contain and constrain the abilities of human beings in order to exercise total domination over humanity. If you are not a control freak yourself, it may be hard to conceive of such people. However, what motivates them, at least in part, is a need to feel superior to others. Although deep down they are in fact very insecure, painfully aware of their own inferiority, and are in an envious rage at anyone who is beautiful, happy, vibrant, truly alive, intelligent, talented, and creative. This is why they seek to dominate and control such people. We see the controllers' motives and weaknesses in their religious books, in which they must dominate or kill anyone who disagrees with them, and in modern totalitarian social and political movements, in which they attempt to gain control over, then silence and destroy anyone who presents a position that differs from their own. This is all an attempt to manipulate the common reality. While the holy controllers have succeeded nearly everywhere in the world in narrowing human perceptions, this activity is most obvious to us in medieval Western Europe, once the power of the press was in the hands of these religious supremacists. There are many theories about why so many people in Western Europe were murdered as witches. The so-called rationalists believe that all the accused were innocent of witchcraft. But I am certain from looking at the descriptions of the things they were accused of that many were, in fact, practicing witchcraft. And not just medicine or midwifery, but conjuring and what many people would call the dark arts. In fact, many were healers, and probably many more were simply either hated or envied by someone in their community. Some scholars theorize that the high number of persecutions recorded during the Reformation period were due to a bizarre competition between the Catholic Church and the Protestants to win followers. In many instances, it appears that they were killed simply for being female, and that witchcraft accusations may simply have been an excuse for sexually perverse torture and femicide. For instance, King James I of England, the man credited with authorship of the King James Version of the Bible, is said to have taken a perverse thrill in personally torturing accused witches. This entire problem of women being singled out for accusations of witchcraft and salacious slander seems to have been exacerbated 100 years before this time by the publication of the perverse book, the Malleus Maleficarum, which was published in the late 15th century. Furthermore, it appears intentional because of what sometimes happens to those who are different, who can perceive that which is beyond the common reality, even now. If they talk to the wrong person about it, they can end up in a mental institution, or they are drugged by doctors. The psychiatrists, psychologists, and doctors all play a role in the modern version of the Inquisition, and if you report any anomalous experiences to them, you could find yourself involuntarily incarcerated in a loony bin, which is why I always advise against this. Mass media, in which a few perceived authorities are able to communicate in a one-way direction to the masses, in which the listeners and viewers have no effective means to question or counter what is said, is one of the most powerful tools the holy controllers have ever wielded. We are now a long ways from the days of the Gutenberg press, and now there is all kinds of new technology, beyond even communications technology, that is being used by the holy controllers to manipulate and constrain the common perception of reality. Witches and occultists are people among whom these techniques of control failed to constrain our abilities, which is why we have first-hand insights into the occult world, which is hidden from the eyes and ears of the average person. It is common knowledge, at least among us, that occultists have been both employed and destroyed by authoritarian governments. The holy controllers know that both God and materialism are lies. While they often lack their own extrasensory abilities, they both use and fear those who have them. Generally speaking, wrongdoers and criminals, all those who feel guilt or have guilty secrets, fear witches and those who have psychic abilities. A famous example of a government employing occultists is that of Karl Ernst Kraft, a Swiss astrologer who impressed Adolf Hitler by making a prediction in 1923 that a man of his birth date would come to power. In 1939, he accurately predicted an attempt to assassinate Hitler, for which he was arrested. Once they were convinced of his innocence, the Nazi government employed him. After he had made numerous accurate predictions, he wrote a letter to a senior Nazi official, predicting that the British would soon destroy the propaganda ministry, which they soon did. The Nazis took this letter as a treasonous threat, arrested him and tossed him in prison, where he contracted a disease and died on his way to a concentration camp on January 8, 1945. It is well known that the Nazis arrested astrologers and other occultists in Germany during the war, and confiscated and prohibited the publication of occult materials. All the while, they used astrology and occultism in their own war efforts, as did the British and US governments. Also, I'm sure you know about the famous Hermeticist Franz Bardon's experiences with the Nazi Party, because this is a well-known story in occult circles. In his book, Frabato the Magician, he tells a fictionalized account of some things that happened to him at the hands of occultists working for the Nazi government. It is a fictionalized account of his pursuit by those in Hitler's government who wanted to use him for his occult knowledge and abilities, how he battled the members of a Black Lodge, a secret society of black magicians who were in the employment of the Nazis, and how he escaped them, at least for a while. For 3.5 years, Bardon was imprisoned and tortured in a concentration camp during World War II for refusing to lend his occult abilities and knowledge to the Nazi war effort. He was sentenced to death, but escaped the prison after it was bombed. He was eventually imprisoned again by the police in his native Czechoslovakia for purchasing alcohol to use in his remedies, which is a common thing healers do, and he died in incarceration on July 10, 1958. You can now find some photographs of Bardon's laboratory, which were taken by the arresting police. They are posted at a website called checkhermetics.com. According to the webpage, published on February 19, 2018, entitled Police Documentation of Franz Bardon's Laboratory, these photographs were included in a 1961 book of communist propaganda intended to discredit healing and alternative medicine. They give the original Russian title of the book and the translation, which is About Miracles and Supernatural Forces. The holy controllers have continually controlled occult information by means of their religious and government systems. Characteristically, they persecute, in one way or another, those who possess abilities beyond their own. For the past several hundred years, as Christianity spread across Europe, witches and occultists disappeared, were murdered, and were forced underground. The holy controllers instituted a similar campaign of domination here in North America, with the same purpose: to destroy those who possessed knowledge and expanded abilities. This had the effect of limiting the general public's ability to fully perceive the world around them. Worldwide, many talented and wise witches, psychics, seers, and occultists have been killed, sometimes along with their offspring. Although there are still a lot of us who are witches and who have psychic abilities, our members are small compared to the common population. You may feel outnumbered because you are outnumbered. Furthermore, because of this silencing, we are not able to communicate openly about many things. So, not only do we feel socially isolated among the general population, we are usually isolated from each other. This is the unfortunate reality for us. Of course, isolation is not all bad. Isolation from the broader society, especially when surrounded by nature, can help you to discover your own true nature and desires. You need time to meditate, to think, to heal, and learn your true self and your true will. True physical isolation, not just social isolation, is actually important for all people. For many witches, their abilities remain latent. Many have an inkling that there is something different about them, and often these are the people who make an inquiry into witchcraft and the occult. If they manage to get past the pop witchcraft movements, which are gatekeepers, they may find their way to genuine witchcraft and occultism. Traditional witchcraft is not as sparkly or socially acceptable, but it is much more interesting and powerful. Isolating oneself from the constrained physical world designed by the holy controllers for a time can help such people in their quest for self-discovery. There are also times when it is beneficial for witches and occultists to communicate with our own kind, because we understand each other. It is especially productive when we can communicate in a closed environment without fear of enemies and detractors. As I have said in my other monologues, using my self-administered Bitcoin and altcoins patronage program, I am moving some of my discussions underground, and our use of cryptography is going to become more, and this is why I encourage your anonymity, important to us.
But yeah, if you still pick the right, if you pick the right time, get the right day, and you're in the right mood, it can still be quite nice out here. What I've noticed is in sort of July, August, the amount of traffic has massively increased. It's probably doubled sort of since school came out. Not on the main roads, but on the sort of country roads and stuff. And there's a lot more. He's speeding massively. He was doing 45. I could see on that speed robot. There's another fucking speed robot here as well. In my cute little village, they've shoved one of those speed robots. At least it's not really in the way like some of them are. That's my house. That's my summer house, where I used to hang out, spend most of the time watching anime and stuff. Check this out. Fucking massive car crash. Don't know if anyone got hurt, but my dad said there was a car that had sort of spun round. Can't see any ambulances unless they're around the corner, but the cars go, I don't know, 30, sometimes more. When I go along there, I can usually go about the same speed as them, about 25 miles per hour, but I guess they could get up to 40 if there wasn't much traffic. It's interesting the cars can still get past, otherwise they'd be like tailbacks for miles. So we're having more traffic than ever this year, partly because people aren't allowed to leave the country to go on holiday, so they're just driving around England instead. Yeah, I didn't hear the bang. I think I was asleep. Well, I was asleep, and then I woke up feeling really ill. And then my dad was outside talking to someone over the fence, and I was like, "What's going on?" Still, there's quite a few cars going past. It's not. It doesn't seem as busy as it did last night. It was pretty busy about 9 o'clock last night.
I'll smile later. Probably 125. wonder what type of bike that was. It looked kind of old. Don't know where to go now. I haven't thought that through. $18, $19, $20. Didn't really have the momentum that time. Too much headwind and not enough juice. My dad has that car, but that wasn't him. Must be school leaving time for this many cars to be about. Let's go down. So you're only getting like 23, 24 now when we crank it in power mode 3, so. Something's happened to this tree here, right? Look, that wasn't like that before. I rode through here recently. Look at the size of that log. Look at that. Some hot Chinese schoolgirls. Bloody hell. thought there might be school kids in here. I think they had Royal Latin school ties on there. They looked a bit like Essex. One of them looked a bit like an Essex girl. How you might imagine. They're not likely to be very promiscuous if they've got Royal Latin school ties on. Although, you never know, I hear some crazy things about private school girls. I should have gone up that way. Should have gone up that way, shouldn't I? Turning circle and this thing's pretty poor. Jesus. Just mess about on these hills for now. Oh, that was fun. I used to be able to get up into that field, but I can't remember how I did it. I used to go up there and me and my dad used to go up into that field. And I also used to go sky watching up there, but I don't know if I can actually get up there now. We found a cannonball up in that field once actually, because we used to live up there, up on that, in those houses there. Or maybe it was a musket ball, I'm not sure. It was about 2 inches wide.